Hi everybody. Today we're going to start learning about loops. And loops are one of the aspects of programming in Python or in any programming language that really make the power of your computer available to you. So we're going to start out very simply here and move up a little bit, and hopefully you'll get an idea of some of the things that you can use loops for in doing your own research. So to start out with, let's look at a very common problem that we might run into. So here on my desktop I have all the Atom transcripts from the childless database. And as you can see, they are all currently in the CHA extension format. And we might want to rename those as TXT files. Well, it would be very tedious for us to go through and do this by hand. I could go in and say, okay, let's call this, we'll erase CHA and make that TXT. And I'll say, yes, use TXT. We could do that, but there are a lot of these files, and that just is more time than we want to spend doing that kind of thing. Plus, we might make mistakes. We don't want to do this by hand. That is what we have computers for. So how are we going to do that? Well, the first thing we're going to do in Python is to import a module. We're going to import the OS module, and that just allows us to do various things with the operating system. What we're going to use it for here is to change the directory. So we're just going to use this os.change directory command to point Python to the folder here on my desktop, which has all these transcripts in it. Then we're going to use another one of these OS commands that we got from this module, os rename, to simply rename file names. So the first file name here is atom01.cha, and we'll put some quotation marks around that. And what we want to do is to change that to the same name, but just with txt instead. So let's try running this and see what happens. All right, nothing seems to happen here. Let's take a look in the folder. And sure enough, atom01 has now been changed to txt. Oh, what? You decided you didn't want to name that txt after all? Well, that's no problem. All you're going to need to do is just go back here. Now you're going to change txt back to cha. And there we go. Back just the way it was. So this is pretty cool. But we didn't want to just rename one file. We wanted to rename all the files. We have 55 files here. Let's get Python to rename all of these for us. So the first step here is going to be to import another module. This time we're going to import one called glob, or glob if you like. And glob is just another one of these modules, sort of like OS, that allows us to do things with files on our computer. So let's put glob to work for us here. We're still going to change the directory to the folder that has all the files in it. Then we're going to add some more code here. Or we'll say for file in glob.glob, parentheses, star.cha. So there's a couple indications here now that what we're building is a loop. The first one is this word here, for, in just about any language you can find, computer language. For is going to tell you that you're starting a loop. You're going to be asking the computer to step through a whole series of things and do the same thing to all of them. Then also in Python, there's this colon here at the end, and that's also an indication that we're building a loop here. So what we're asking it to do is to say, for every file in here, this is going to refer back to this directory that we're in, look for the files that end in CHA. So this star here just says whatever comes before the period, doesn't matter, as long as the file ends in CHA, we're going to want to take that file and do something with it. Notice also that Canopy has indented the cursor here after this colon. Whenever you have a colon like this and you're building a loop in Python, you need to indent what comes after that in the next line, and Canopy just does that for you. So this rename line here, we're going to want to have that in the loop because that's what's going to be doing all the work for us of renaming our files. So I'm just going to go ahead and hit the Tab key to indent that because that's going to be part of our loop. But before we get there, we're going to need to do a little bit more work because right now it's going to go through and it's just going to rename things that start with CHA. It's going to rename them as TXT files, but here we're telling it specifically to rename this one file. And we want it to do all the files. So how are we going to do that? What we're going to do here is we're going to build a new sort of temporary file. Let's call it new file. And we're going to want our new files to keep the same name as the old files. We're still going to want them to be called Adam01, Adam02, etc. The only thing we want to change is the end. So what we're going to do is to take that information from the old files and copy them into the new files. And to do that, we'll use a technique called slicing in Python. And I'll show you down here a little example of how that's going to work. So if we just take a file name here, paste it in down here, and let's assign that to a variable. So we have a variable down here, x, which is this file name. And now let's make a new variable here, y, and y is going to be the same as x, except what we're only going to want to take this part of it right here. So we'll do this in a sort of strange way, but hang in here. We're going to take x from the 0th character. You might think that A would be the first character, but Python starts counting at 0. That's just the way it is. And then we're going to go to all the way to the end minus 1, 2, 3 characters, like that. So we can take a look at this. X is our original file name, and Y is this original file name minus the last 3 characters. And just to finish this off, let's make a final variable here, z, which is y plus txt. Print z. So there we go. Now we have a new file name which was built out of these variables, which has the shape that we want. So now we're going to go up here and recreate the same thing within our script. So up here, remember we are creating a sort of a temporary file here called new file, and new file is going to be the same as file from the 0th character, just like we did down here, from the 0th character to the minus 3rd character in the file name, plus txt. So it's going to do the same thing that we did down here for one file, but now it's general. It doesn't matter what the file is called. It's just going to suck in the file name here, create a new variable, a new file name, which is the same as the old file name, taking away these characters and adding txt in its place. And the last step of this, of course, is going to be to go down here and change these, because now we want to make these general as well. We want it to do this rename to all of the files. So we're just going to tell it rename file, whatever file happens to be at this point. Rename that file as new file. So this down here, this is just to illustrate the point, so we're going to remove that so that's clear. That's not part of our script. So now this is all we have here, just a few lines. We're going to run the script, and let's see what happens. We didn't get any errors. That's always a good sign. Now we'll go take a look at our folder, and sure enough, now all those CHA files have been renamed as text files. So this is pretty great. We had 50 odd files in that folder. We wanted to do the same thing to each one of those files, and this is exactly the sort of thing that people are bad at and don't like doing, and computers are really, really great at, and they don't mind doing it. So, oh, what's this? Look at that. There's a new folder. Oh, these must be the Sarah files. I want those to be txt as well. Oh, wait a minute. I have a script that can do that for me, don't I? Let's see here. With 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 lines of code, I was able to rename all of those Atom files. And now I have a script that I can use again. Let's just run this on Sarah. There, now all of my Sarah files are renamed as well. So anyway, as I was saying, with 6 lines of code, I am now easily able to rename all the CHA files in any folder that might show up on my desktop. Like, what? Oh no! The Eve files are here now too. Oh, there's 20 of them. What am I going to do? I bet you if I just change this to Eve, and sure enough, now all my Eve files are txt as well. So this is an example of a very simple but powerful loop where we are just asking Python to go to a folder, take every item, every file in that folder, and do the same thing to it. In this case, we're just renaming the files. But in the next video, we'll see how we can use this same loop to do other operations with our files.